But the central government turned against the people of Tigray in order to have a highly centralized system. This brought this difficulty today.
There's this ideology, doing my research on what I wanted to specifically ask you guys, there's this saying, I've never heard it before, but apparently it's a saying that's been said, and it's Tigray በሰላም ጊዜ ይራራቃል. It's only when we're going through hardship that we find ourselves coming together and being united. But when we're in power and when we have some type of sustainability, we're one man and one man alone. One, do you believe that's true? And if you do, why or why not?
This is an interesting question.
I agree.
What happens is, definitely, if you look into the people of Tigray, I think we have history, long history of civilization, and advancing in many areas as well, in literature, in music, in arts, in architecture, in very many things. I'm not talking about few years, I'm talking about thousands of years, maybe 2,000-3,000 thousands of years. And we have gone through many wars as well. So we have, the Tigrayan people have faced a lot of advancements and very many challenges as well. So this history has impacted all of us. It has brought us much more closer. It has created strong unity amongst us, especially when there are challenges, when there are difficulties. We stand together. It doesn't come overnight. This is part of our history. So, indeed, when we face challenge and difficulties, we stand together. There are very many factors. One is history that I mentioned, and secondly, bear in mind, we are not huge population, especially from starting end of the 19th century, our number has decreased, because prior to end of 19th century, the Tigrinya speakers were more or less together as one people. But towards the end of the 19th century, we were divided into two, so the Tigrayans became very minority. Eritrea was formed, it's an independent state, there is no doubt about it, but I'm referring to history.
Right.
So, from 20th century onwards, number of Tigrayans, the number of the population of the size of population of Tigrayans become smaller. So we are a minority as well. We have to defend ourselves. So the major impact is due to our history. So what do we learn from this history is the issue. Your question is, when we have peace, our unity is not as strong as time of challenge, time of difficulties. I think we have to learn out of this. Especially you have to make sure that your unity and your involvement in the Tigrayan affairs has to be sustained during peace, during war, during tranquility, you have to advance in everything. You have to advance in science, in technology, in business, in academia, in everything. And you have to remain united. You don't have to allow any sort of disintegration amongst yourself. That's why, I'm extremely proud to see you being united. I'm exceptionally happy to see you being organized in different associations. That's how our unity can be maintained and strengthened. So you're right. I think we have to look into that, and we have to learn from our history. We have to act, we have to be united always as if we are in war. Not to create problems, but to make advancement and to, it's visible when we are united. What can we do? We are doing what we are doing today because we are united. So when we are united, we can make so much difference. What have you done here in the States? What have your age mates have done in Europe and in Australia, everywhere? Tigray has been on the radar screen because of your activities. It's because you are united. So we have to learn from all this, and whether it's in peace or in war, we have to remain united. I think you have raised a very important issue.
Thank you. Do you think that has any reason as to why we keep repeating the cycle of war?
Well, the reason is, initially, in terms of history, I think it varies from time to time, from one period to the other. Great powers emerge from elsewhere, and they want to have influence and control of our territory, and then we were forced to defend. At moments, there were powers that were interested in our water in the region, and there were different things. There were economic, geopolitical interests that pushed them to control us. So we were defending ourselves. These were the reasons. This time, the issue that I mentioned comes up, but of course, the reason of the type of governance that they want to put in place has become a reason. So we have definitely come up into 3 wars in 3 decades. One, the 1970s to 1991 war, ended in the 90s, early 90s. Then we had war in 1998, that was an invasion of Eritrea. Then we have war in 2020. So we have 3 times that has been repeating itself. Well, we're, definitely since we were in a federal system of governance, some of the defense mechanisms or defense establishments that we could have were definitely were transferred to the central government. So we're dependent in terms of our security on the central government. But the central government turned against the people of Tigray in order to have a highly centralized system. This brought this difficulty today. There are other reasons as well, which we can discuss some other time. So now what we have to do is we have to make sure, out of learning from the past, we have to make sure that security would be maintained, that Tigray remains secured in the future, that this would not be repeated. But the reason why it's come, why we have been engaged in war for different, at different moments is for different reasons. I don't think there is one single reason that one could put. The 1970s, 80s was, the people of Tigray were fighting for their self-determination, for their right of survival. The 1998 was war of invasion. That was, Ethiopia was invaded, we're part of Ethiopia, been part of Ethiopia, so we defended as Ethiopians. There are different reasons. We cannot put one reason for the cyclical cyclical of wars. You know, it has different reasons for different moments. That's what I could say.
Thank you. Yep, sure. Dada? Oh.
Go ahead.
I guess your generation, writing books on us, could probably point few things. I'm trying to read you if I can. If we have invested the same amount of money and energy into peace rather than war, would we have war? We have to question. While I absolutely agree with the ambassador that we were hit every time, but for you though, you can't let us get away with that. You guys have to question, why is Tigray not only being invaded and going to war? Who are our heroes right now? Our heroes are not scientists, are not economists. Our heroes are the fighters. So there is a fundamental issue we need to discover. As you grow, if you're going to save your generation, the next generation, you got to study deeper. Why do our leaders once in a while get into conflict amongst themselves and weakening the Tigray power? That happens many times in history. Too many times to just say, as I said earlier, we're getting invaded. Well, that is true, but I think there is more than that. There is a cultural phenomena that we really deeply need to look into, because the 70s generation might have screwed up a little bit, and you will screw up your time in a different way. But I really want you to rethink what else is going on. What the heck did we do? Nobody did this to deserve this, by the way. This is not war, and I don't call this war. This is genocide. But wars that we have fought, I bet you will think of ways we could have, if we have invested intelligently into peace. I think you guys would choose that. I hope you would, by the way.
Just to add one point or two, I agree with what they said. Are we divided in times of peace and then united in times of adversary? No, I would categorically say, no, we are, I think, as united, not as we face the threat, hostility from outside, but in a peaceful time, we have been under normal. I mean, a divided society wouldn't have contributed so much. In the Ethiopian history, if you see, like what the ambassador said, we have contributed a lot of advancements in art, in music, in architecture, in all civilization fronts. So a divided society wouldn't have done that. If you consider the total Ethiopian history in 100 pages, and if you take out Tigray's history, how many pages do you think will be left? And then we don't feel like we are a minority, and we are not. In a modern definition, minority is not defined in terms of numerical superiority or inferiority. It's if any group has a very meaningful participation in all the national affairs, then it's not a minority anymore. That's I think you can correct me. But so the Tigray contribution has been so much, and then we don't feel a minority, and then we don't feel the vulnerability as well, and that's the erring side, because we always find ourselves in the receiving end. So the best way to prevent wars is to, like they say, to get prepared during the time of peace. So we're not doing that. Once we passed the ambassador was saying 3 major wars, just very recently. I don't think any society has endured such kind of devastating wars within a short time. So it's unique, and we're not considering it as unique. Because if we were, we would have done something about it. And then our post-war behavior must be really reviewed and diagnosed. It's not incompatible with the level of price we are paying for the wars when they come. The 27-year narrative Diletna has mentioned, I sometimes say, I mean, let's deal with it. The 27 years were run by us, let's say. The entire show was run by us. And then let's go to inventory. Do we have the longest peace in the history of Ethiopia? Yes. Do we have the best economic development record? Yes. And do we have some effort of democratizing, although not as much as what was needed? But yes, better than what we have now. And therefore, if this is the record, this was contributed by the 6%, they call us. And let's just own it, lock and own it. But we're not, we're always behind the narrative stuff. And then, you know, why are they saying this? The treason, the lies that come one after the other. Why are they doing that? Because it worked for them and they're using it. So we need to be conscious of this, just this one.
Absolutely. There is a question from the audience. So Alazar, what's your question?
Well, you raised a very important issue. And I'm glad that you raised that. I should tell you that in the ruling party, in the TPLF, there has been succession processes taking place. Today, in the TPLF, it's out of maybe 50, 60 members of leadership, you might find 4 or 5 that came from the armed struggle. The rest of them are very young, highly educated, young professionals are members of leadership. That's a fact. People don't know that much, but leadership has changed. I'm not in the leadership. I served as a member of the leadership for 30 years, but I have left the leadership since 2012. Most of my colleagues were former members of the leadership. We're no more in the leadership. The decision making is done mainly by young, educated Tigrayans. So that's what we have today, and it will continue. We deliberately have succession programs in the party. So does in government. I think that's the case. In terms of outside of Tigray, when it comes to the United States, I should tell you that we're doing the same thing. Up to now, you know, the foreign, the diplomacy and so on, the government representation abroad was managed by around 7 people that was representing Tigray, and they represented Tigray entirely in the globe, from Australia to Europe to Asia and to the United States, Canada, South America, and everywhere. Now, We have established the Tigray External Office in Tigray, which we are all aware. And at the same time, we're reforming and reorganizing our foreign activities. So we have teams that would be representing Tigray continentally, like one for the Americas, North and South America, one for Europe, one for Asia, one team for Africa, one team for the Gulf, and one team responsible for multilateral relations, meaning international organizations like the UN, UN systems, World Bank, IMF, and so on. So we are organizing ourselves in this format. In here, we are including young people, like from the United States, from the Americas, which is Northern America today, because Tigrayans live in Canada and in the United States. We have new team in place. Most of them are, we have around 7 women out of 15. We have, most of them, are young men and young women that have been included in the representation of the government, and very few as well who have experiences like Siyum. Siyum has been included in the team as well. So, young people who are literally your age and who are professionals who are working in different areas have been included in the team. So we are trying to do that. Unless we do that, it's going to be committing suicide. If we stay in office, for a few years, definitely biology will play its role. And then people of Tigray will have no leadership unless there is proper succession. So in Tigray, there has been succession taking place. Sometimes you see few people that are in leadership that came from the armed struggle, and you assume that everybody is from the armed struggle, but that's not the case. The number of people that have PhDs in the leadership are quite numerous. In Tigray, I'm referring in Tigray.
I just want to, by the way, I have never been in politics my entire life. I just want to give that reflection. Never wanted it because I have big mouth and I like to tell it the way it is. That's not very good politics, is it? But the reason I'm sharing that with you is when I was asked, it was an honor because this is Tigray. This is not political party. I will never probably ever belong to a specific party. Never. Because again, I really believe expressing my thoughts freely. I came to this country when I was 19, for God's sake. So that kind of changes you. But I think there is a real process of bringing older and younger people into the same camp. We need both the experience, but the leadership should be taken by the young people, which, have any of you looked, I'm sorry, I know this is not very serious, but it is. Have you ever looked at the Eritrean government's meeting? Any of you? I don't think there is anyone under 70. I'm not joking, check it out. The 80s. That is a scary thought. That's not what Tigray is trying to build itself to be. Look at the fighters who are fighting. Doctors, young professionals. I have nephews and nieces who are in their 30s, highly educated with a second degree at least. That is different than what you see in whatever we call Adhallo. Okay, so that's not where we're going. Your point is well taken, and I think the complaint has been listened very carefully, asking people who have never been in the politics to say, hey, can you help? Of course, because this is about Tigray.
Well, and I have never been in a leadership that involves more than myself, so it has never been complicated.
Thank you. We do have one more. Okay, well, several more. I'm going to go to halftone first, and then I'll go. Halftone.
Okay. Well, very, very interesting and very good questions as well. With the first one, I spoke about the TPLF because the issue of succession came. And the issue of age would come with the TPLF, not with the rest of the parties, because the rest of the parties are, most of them are young people that we all know. So the issue would come up with the TPLF, and I had to explain what the TPLF is and what its leadership looks like. That's why I dealt with the TPLF with the question that was asked earlier. Just wanted to make it clear. Indeed, in Tigray, there are different political parties, which we are all happy, because we have to build a democratic society. I think, in my opinion, it's time to. It's the right time now that different political parties are coming. Why would I say that? The reason is the TPLF's program has been an extremely broad program that has accommodated literally the entire population of Tigray since 1974, since 1975, mobilizing people from year after year until 1991 and even beyond 1991. So, but nowadays, with the developments that we have, different political parties have emerged, which is a positive step. No one has a problem with that. The TPLF doesn't have a problem with that. The government of Tigray doesn't have a problem with that. The people of Tigray do not have a problem with that. We are all happy that there are different political parties. That needs to be underlined. Second issue is the working relationship between the parties. Well, the report that I have from Tigray is that they have a forum where the political parties discuss issues. A regular forum takes place. They discuss different issues from time to time. I've heard some complaints, but there are two versions to it. But I assure you that the explanation that I get is there is regular forum where they are discussing everything. And at the same time, in regards to Makhata, like what we do here, they are working together. Some of the leaders of the political parties, the opposition political parties, are engaged in Makhata affairs as well, even in mobilizing people as well as teams, being engaged in institutions that have been built, governmental institutions and non-governmental institutions as well. So they are engaged. At any rate, there are complaints that come, that we hear. I think they have to address them right on the ground. So as far as principles are concerned, as far as rights for them are concerned, it's there, and they have to operate, and they have to be able to convince people. But today, it's a moment of Makhata. We are all focusing on Makhata, and we all have to mobilize our capabilities, our resources, our talents, and everything, our energy to deal with the genocidal war. I hope I have answered your question. The second one is...
So the second one was why in the 27 years that we were in power, we helped grow Ethiopia, but not the northern region specifically.
I hope you were here when we started the discussion. I have tried to describe what Tigray looked like in 1974, 75. And what we have today, the Tigray that we have today is completely different than the Tigray that we had in mid-1970s. Tremendous change. However, that's not enough. We should have done more. We should do more. Absolutely. But it does not mean that Tigray has not made advancement. mere fact that we have, all these educated people, all the institutions that we have, and so on, is not a simple thing. Should we have done more? Yes. No one can be satisfied with whatever we did. We can look into that, but I should say there have been advances during the last 27 years, even in Tigray. Should more, we could have done more and should have done more? Absolutely. We can look into that, learn from that, and do more. But a lot had been done.
If I can just, on what was done in Tigray, I'm going to again be very blunt. I went to school in the Amhara and the Asmara for middle school and part of my high school. Mekele was not even half of the Amhara. So I have to give you the real background. We have 4 major universities, we have hospitals. I'm saying that not to say enough was done for Tigray, but just to wake up, so we need to, because your age, I get it, but we have seen Tigray naked, so bad. Clinics and schools, there has been an amazing work. Was it enough? I'm very critical of TPLF when it comes to Tigray development, especially security. That's what I usually talk about. But economically, I don't want you to be disillusioned. We had nothing, literally nothing. Mengistu said, what the heck do I get from Tigray except there was one industry which was grinding mill. He was right. We had nothing. So I really want you to think again. And yes, there were many misgivings I have. But look, we really did have nothing. And a lot of work was done. I have to, as a non-party member, I can say that. I really was not. I was, as a kid, I admired EPRDF, whatever they are, EPRP, not TPLF, because they came to my house first. So I was never, and then as I grew up, I realized the TPLF was mine and EPRP was not. I mean, bluntly, I tell you, I have never been involved in politics, but I want you to rethink. Look at statistics. How many clinics did we have before TPLF took over Addis? How many hospitals? How many schools? I am in Europe, as I told you. We had clinics and schools because of the Catholic Church. That's where the first school was in the whole entire Ethiopia anyway. But even when we had all these schools and clinics, within Tigray government, we had clinic at every kabeli, I think they call it. That was unthinkable, okay? So I really want, they didn't do enough, I'm with you. But I want to remind you, naked Tigray got dressed a little bit with a t-shirt maybe. How about that?
Well said.